Star Wars, later retitled to Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope because George Lucas changes his mind more than a pregnant woman, shows the story of Princess Leia. Or Leia. They can't make up their mind about that either.
Princess Leia.
Weird. Played by the late great Carrie Fisher, leader of the Rebel Alliance, who has stolen plans for the Death Star, an evil space station with the capabilities of absolute destruction, but is soon kidnapped by the infamous Darth Vader, played by David Prowse, but voiced by Simba's dad. She luckily hid the plans in this annoying beeping prick droid R2-D2 who escapes with his even more annoying robot mate C-3PO. They end up being purchased by the family of Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill, who discovers Princess Leia on a recording on R2 and seeks help by his original owner, Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Alec Guinness. The original idea for the film, you know, back when he expected nothing to ever come of it, so it was literally just called Star Wars. The original idea was a space western, and Lucas was gathering ideas as early as 1971. He even wanted to adapt the Flash Gordon serials into this picture. At the Cannes Film Festival, he was given a 2-film deal with United Artists. One was American Graffiti, and the other was this Flash Gordon space fantasy. He really pushed for the latter, but unfortunately failed to obtain the rights to the characters. He then decided to just invent his own here instead.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
Lucas had this idea of a space opera entitled The Star Wars, but he did present a script to the studio for American Graffiti, which they passed on, before Universal picked it up instead. United Artists also rejected his screenplay for The Star Wars, and the project was temporarily cancelled. George Lucas spent 2 years on American Graffiti and then began work on this space flick, beginning writing as early as January 1973, 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. He would make small notes, come up with bizarre names, and writing possible characterizations. Most of these were actually discarded, however, one of which did include Han Solo being a huge green monster with no nose and gills. Yes, Ruth.
What?
But some of his scrapped ideas were then used in the sequels and then later the prequels. United Artists again declined to give him the money for the film until turning to Universal once more, but they too turned it down, calling the concept a little strange. Lucas stated in an interview, "I've always been an outsider to Hollywood types. They think I do weirdo films." You do?
I see your point, sir.
The studio, however, simply stated, "We just didn't think much of science fiction at the time. We didn't think it had much of a future then with that particular audience. Science fiction wasn't popular in the mid-70s. What seems to be the case generally is that the studio executives look for what was popular last year rather than try to look forward to what might be popular next year."
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Lucas stated, "The film isn't about the future. My main reason for making it was to give young people an honest, wholesome fantasy life, the kind my generation had. We had westerns, pirate movies, all kinds of great things. Now they have the $6 million Man and Kojak. Where are the romance, the adventure, and the fun that used to be in practically every movie made?"
I wasn't notified.
Walt Disney Productions, who ironically purchased the rights to the franchise in 2012, rejected the original project, but Lucas persevered, adamant it would work and that people would like it. By January 1975, he had a second draft and a third by August the 1st that same year, titled The Star Wars, From the Adventures of Luke Starkiller. Sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode.
What makes you think so?
During production, the title was finally changed, and Obi-Wan's death included, which originally wasn't in the script. The original opening was actually a lot longer also, but Lucas's good friend Brian De Palma told him, "The crawl at the beginning looks like it was written on a driveway. It goes on forever. It's gibberish. George, you're out of your mind. Let me sit down and write this for you." When it came to creating the design and look of the picture, Colin Cantwell was brought on, having previously worked on 2001 A Space Odyssey. Many more were hired, including some of Lucas's colleagues, but they didn't have much money to make the sets needed. They ended up using scrap. The designers began work even before it was approved by 20th Century Fox in Elstree Studios, England. The Millennium Falcon was the hardest to build, but we found scrap airplane metal that no one wanted in those days and bought them. Many props malfunctioned, electronics broke down, and George Lucas soon fell behind on schedule. In addition, the country's first rainstorm in 50 years struck on the first day of filming, delaying things further. Lucas wanted to continue shooting using nets and other items to simmer the rain, but it failed.
We seem to be made to suffer.
Despite the director's enthusiasm, even his own crew showed little interest and refused to take the project seriously at all. He even called it a children's film and found the picture unintentionally hilarious. Well, maybe this scene. Is that supposed to be funny? I'm not entirely sure. Even some of the actors admitted they expected it to be a bomb. Harrison Ford called Princess Leia a strange character for having weird buns in her hair, and Chewbacca a giant in a monkey suit. And the crew took their job so seriously they would actually let locals watch over the camera equipment, simply paying them with beer.
No reward is worth this.
George Lucas himself rarely communicated with his actors, admitting he expected too much from them but had little direction, usually just saying faster or more intense. Sounds like my girlfriend last night. The actors even did their best to try to cheer him up and make him smile or laugh, as he often seemed depressed on set. Unfortunately, editor John Gibson's first cut of the film was, in Lucas's own words, a complete disaster. He then replaced him with a new editor and even allowed his wife Marcia to overlook the entire process. When it came to special effects, Industrial Light and Magic had the damn near impossible task of finishing a year's work in just 6 months.
I think you overestimate their chances.
In February 1977, an early cut was screened for the studio. Most special effects were missing. Vader's voice was the original actor's and much less threatening.
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Oh, be afraid of him. The original actor was David Prowse, and he was furious even 2 decades later about his voice being replaced. I guess he thought his voice was intimidating enough.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
Orson Welles was almost dubbed in, but Lucas went against it, deciding he'd be too recognisable. Brian De Palma, John Milius and Steven Spielberg, who were present, were all disappointed with the screening. Spielberg, however, claimed he liked the film, but he lacked enthusiasm because of the unfinished special effects. Some studio executives liked it, and Gareth Wigan even cried during the screening, saying, "This is the greatest film I've ever seen." Lucas himself did not expect the sheer success of the franchise, admitting he visited the set of Close Encounters of the Third Kind and was positive that that would by far outperform Star Wars. Lucas was so sure that it was going to fail, he even went on holiday to Hawaii with his wife, completely forgetting that his film was premiering on that exact same day. He saw huge lines of people going to see Star Wars, but it wasn't until he watched the CBS Evening News and saw the massive crowds that he realised he's done something extraordinary. The original trilogy is often regarded as one of the best of all time, and Lucas confessed that it was originally supposed to be just one movie, but it would have been far too long. Even if you don't like the movie, there's just no denying the incredible impact they've made in cinema history. This is easily one of the most quotable films ever, the most famous movie franchise of all time, and it's inspired so many filmmakers, movies themselves, actors, and opened the doors to so many other talents everywhere. This one does have a lot of problems, but you can't deny its impact, and you have to respect what it's done. Visually, it's breathtaking and has some revolutionary effects for its time. The action is incredibly intense to the point you're on the edge of your seat. The cinematography looks gorgeous, the scenery is outstanding, the acting performances are mostly great, the music is insane. But as for Luke Skywalker, our hero, I truly don't understand how so many people slate Hayden Christensen in the prequels, don't worry, we'll get to that, for being a whiny bitch when you got to listen to this for 2 hours.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
I want to go with you.
This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
It just isn't fair.
Wait a minute, where'd she go? Bring her back. Play back the entire message.
He's like an annoying 10-year-old kid who just won't leave you alone. He's so annoying, and he's supposed to be the hero? He was like this in reality as well. I'm not even joking. According to Carrie Fisher in 2009, Alec Guinness once gave Mark Hamill £20 just to go away. He was asking him all these questions about his career, and it quickly got on his nerves. Art imitating life, I guess.
I don't know what you're talking about.
When he finds out that his aunt and uncle have been murdered, it's not Hamill's fault, but wow, the writing is bad.
I want to come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here now. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
That's it? Like, your entire life has just been crushed. It's literally, they're dead. Oh well, we need a way to further the plot, let's go. It's so rushed and forced. In fact, Obi-Wan is a complete douche because he doesn't even care. He doesn't console him, he's just happy he's finally manipulated Luke to see things his way and agrees to go along with him. He shows no sympathy for his loss whatsoever. Harrison Ford is highly entertaining as the douchebag and really pulls it off well.
Marching into the detention area is not what I had in mind.
But they're gonna kill her!
Better her than me.
I think Leia is by far the most interesting character. Don't get me wrong, Darth Vader has such an awesome presence every time he's on the screen, and although others are entertaining, it's really refreshing to see a princess not be a damsel in distress for once. This one doesn't need any man, shoots stormtroopers, bosses people around, and is so independent and badass, I genuinely want to know more about her. Carrie Fisher also adds an incredible amount of charm to the role, and in my opinion she owns this performance and really steals the show. Ready to find out who also was considered for the role of Princess Leia? Karen Allen, Nancy Allen, Christine Baranski, Kim Basinger, Bonnie Bedelia, Glenn Close, Gina Davis, Melanie Griffith, Barbara Hershey, Farrah Fawcett, Terry Lynn, Cindy Williams, Catherine Hicks, Angelica Houston, Margot Kidder, Christine Larty, Jessica Lange, Kay Lenz, Bernadette Peters, Jane Seymour, Sybil Shepherd, PJ Soul, Sissy Spacek, Meryl Streep, Kathleen Turner, Sigourney Weaver, Diane Weiss, Deborah Vinger, Linda Blair, Pamela Sue Martin, Teresa Russell, and Jill Clayburgh. And breathe.
You know, sometimes I amaze even myself.
Personally, I like Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan, but have you noticed he just has two faces for the entire film and says every line exactly the same?
You're fortunate to be all in one piece, and people. He was the best star pilot in the galaxy. For over 1,000 generations, Vader was seduced. Only passengers. These tracks are side by sides. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
He does make the character that more mysterious and eerie, and I feel like he captures the role well despite this. However, it's highly speculated about what he personally thinks of the film. Stories constantly varying. He did admit his time making the movie was a bad experience, and it was claimed he took credit for wanting his character to be killed off so he didn't have to, and I quote, continue saying these rubbish lines. Lucas disputes this, saying it was his decision, but Guinness confessed to shriveling up each time anyone even mentions the film, and there were rumours he even threw away any Star Wars related fan mail without reading it, though these claims are heavily disputed. Lucas claimed he seemed to enjoy his time on set, but Guinness did admit he hated the dialogue, but went on record in regards to the final film to state, it's staggering a spectacle and technically brilliant, exciting, very noisy and warm-hearted. The battle scenes at the end go on for 5 minutes too long, and some of the dialogue is excruciating and much of it is lost in noise, but it remains a vivid experience. However, in his 2003 biography, written letters from the man himself to his good friend Anne Kaufman were released. Letters written during production. New rubbish dialogue reaches me every other day on wads of pink paper, and none of it makes my character clear or even bearable. I just think, thankfully, of the lovely bread which will help me keep going until next April. I must go off to the studio and work with the dwarf. Very sweet, and he has to wash in a bidet. And your fellow countrymen Mark Hamill and Tennyson? That can't be right. Ford. Ellison? No. Well, a rangy, languid young man who is probably intelligent and amusing, but oh god, they make me feel 90 and treat me as if I'm 106. Oh, the actor's name is Harrison Ford. Ever heard of him? Ouch.
I'm going to regret this.
The cast even acknowledged Lucas's poor dialogue skills, leading to the director actually allowing them to improvise the vital plot point expositions. This line was also improvised.
I can't see a thing in this helmet.
Mark Hamill thought the camera had stopped rolling and genuinely said it to Harrison Ford, but Lucas decided to keep it in. Hamill himself isn't terrible.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Okay, he is. But he does have some quite good moments in there as well. Except for this one.
Can you stand? We've got to get out of here before the Sand People return.
No. You're in a rush. They're coming back to kill you. Hurry your ass up. Weirdly, Robert Englund actually auditioned for this role as well, but he was rejected. He then suggested his roommate try out and, yep, you guessed it. Freddy Krueger's roommate was Luke Skywalker. That needs to be a sitcom.
Leave that to me.
Why is Han Solo surprised to hear that a princess is rich? Isn't it self-explanatory? I don't get why the stormtroopers discover the droids and they know that they're looking for droids that match their description and they just let them go. All of these stormtroopers and not a single one manages to hit Han Solo. I know they're world renowned for being bad aims, but this is ridiculous.
Creepy. This is so creepy. This is so creepy. She's your sister.
Not on your life. That little droid and I have been through a lot together. You okay, R2?
What? We've seen him interact with C-3PO far more than R2-D2. This is just random, but yeah, okay, I'll buy it. The final lightsaber fight also seems quite anticlimactic, and just judging by his performance, you can see that Alec Guinness just doesn't want to be there. It's like he's literally waiting to finish filming so he can go grab the paycheck from George Lucas behind the camera. R2-D2 gets his goddamn head blown off, and Leia doesn't even react. Look, just a normal day in the office. She's such a badass, she doesn't even care. Meh, it happens. In 1997, the film was re-released with new and enhanced special effects, and by God, they suck. These are just awful. Do any of these look real to you? I'm watching a Star Wars movie that makes Jurassic World special effects look somewhat reasonable. How is it possible that the 1977 version looks more legit?
What a piece of junk.
Not only do they look terrible, but they're just not needed. What are they even adding to the scene? All they do is draw your attention away from what's going on because of how fake and out of place they look. The original looked fine. It didn't need this. They were a complete waste of time, effort, and money. This scene was originally cut out because they couldn't do the effects in 1977. Well, you couldn't do them in 1997 either, so why do it at all? This looks awful. The movie itself, I believe, has some sloppy writing and performances, but all in all, it's a decent flick. Not great, but I could see why it was such a hit back then. It's a good and entertaining action sci-fi film, and it's definitely worth the watch. The film took a lot of risks, broke so many records and boundaries, and was just the beginning of an incredible journey. Let's continue it.